When singers and voice teachers talk about breathing, what we're usually thinking about is support or breath management, the things that we need to use our breath for in order to produce our sound or sustain long phrases, things like that. However, if you want to learn to manage your breath effectively, you first have to have some breath to manage. So in this video, I would like to talk about the anatomy and coordination involved in that component of breathing that is inhalation, how you take in a good breath so that you can then do what you want with it. When we inhale, we engage the muscles of inspiration. These include the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. The diaphragm is the primary muscle of inspiration. When we inhale, the diaphragm descends, drawing air into the lungs and displacing your viscera. When voice teachers talk about the importance of taking a low breath, this is what they're referring to. Your belly is going to move out as a consequence of this movement of the diaphragm moving down. The air itself is still just going into your lungs, and they're located higher up inside the rib cage, but we experience the movements and sensations associated with diaphragmatic breathing in the abdominal area. The intercostal muscles are the muscles between the ribs. When we inhale, they lift and separate the ribs, partnering with the diaphragm to draw air into your lungs. Your ability to take in a full, well-coordinated breath is determined in some part by the range of motion you enjoy for your diaphragm and for your rib cage. Range of motion just means how far can something move. So, I can extend my elbow all the way here. I've got good range of motion from my elbow, but if there was something tight in my arm that was keeping it from straightening out all the way or making it impossible for me to bend it all the way, then I would say that my range of motion is somewhat limited. Range of motion for the diaphragm and ribs can be limited by a few things. One of the things that is important for singers to work on, as I'm sure you know, is your alignment. We know that good alignment is important for singing, and here's one of the reasons why. If you take a look at this image, this is this typical posture that we sometimes get into with the forward head and rounded shoulders. If you're sitting looking at your computer or your phone for a while, or driving, or sitting watching TV, it encourages this posture where the sternum's a little bit collapsed, the head's forward, the shoulders come in, and you can see how in this position it's going to be harder for your ribs to lift and separate fully. So it's important to have good upper body alignment so that your rib cage can function well and you can take a full inhalation. The exercises that are the most efficient for improving range of motion for your diaphragm and your rib cage aren't vocal exercises. They aren't exercises that you're going to do in the studio. They're exercises that you can do most efficiently at the gym. So for example, here are some exercises that will help you get more range of motion and flexibility through your rib cage. This is self-myofascial release with a foam roller for the upper back and shoulders. The foam roller goes underneath your shoulders, and as you roll back and forth on it, it helps to loosen up any tensions that might be there. It helps to warm up the area and break up any adhesions that might be there in your connective tissue. And you'll find that if you do this exercise right before you sing, that you're going to be able to feel a little bit more movement through your ribs in the back. So when people say breathe into your back, if you have trouble breathing into your back, like I did before I started doing this exercise, using a foam roller can really help you get more flexibility and range of motion for your rib cage. Another great way to develop more range of motion for your rib cage, especially in the back, is to drape yourself over a stability ball. So just hang out there and breathe slowly and deeply. You're probably going to feel a lot more movement in your ribs in the back. I really found this helpful because my back was very, very tight when I first started learning how to sing, and I couldn't really feel much movement there at all. And everybody was always telling me, breathe into your back. Well, if you drape yourself over a stability ball like this, there's no place else to breathe but into your back, so it's a great way to start. This movement is excellent for improving flexibility and range of motion for your diaphragm and rib cage, both of them. If you lay back on a stability ball and stretch out like this, same as for the other one, you want to just take some nice, slow, deep breaths. This is going to help you really relax and release in the abdominal area, as well as feel more expansion and movement in your rib cage. This is a really important stretch to do after you work out your abdominal muscles. Sometimes people think that they shouldn't work out their abs because they'll get too tight, then they won't be able to take a deep breath, but it's really great and useful to have strong, well-balanced core and abdominal muscles. You just need to make sure to stretch them afterwards, and this is a really great stretch for all of the muscles involved in breathing. Another very important aspect of inhalation is learning to breathe through a relaxed throat. When you inhale, there shouldn't be an audible breathing, gasping noise. But we hear this so often when singers are performing, and I think it's because we tend to really like practicing the things that we do that make sound. We don't spend as much time on the things that don't make sound but prepare us to make a good sound. And so I'm encouraging all of you to spend a little bit more time just observing what you do when you inhale. Not just for the sake of getting a good low breath and expanding your ribcage the way that you want to, but also noticing what happens in your throat. We don't need our throat muscles to breathe. If you just, take a moment, check it out, relax your throat, breathe in and out through your mouth. It's the muscles in your torso that are working to draw air into your body. Your throat is just the airway that it goes through. If there's tension in your throat, we're going to hear it. We're going to hear that audible inhalation. And think about that for a moment, because if you hear somebody inhale, what you are hearing is resistance in the throat. That's going to do some bad things for your singing. It's probably going to dry you out a little bit, and it's also going to keep you from being able to take in as much air as you want as quickly as you would like to. Also, I hear a lot of sort of rhythmic, late, gaspy breaths when people are like getting ready to come in. And so that's something that I really like you to pay attention to and practice doing it some other way. Breathing is arrhythmic. You don't have to breathe quickly in time, and breathing need never make sound. However, being able to take a silent inhalation is going to require some practice. So what I recommend is that when you're just doing your vocal warm-ups or technique exercises, breathe mindfully. As you prepare to do each repetition of whatever exercise you're practicing, take a moment, relax your throat, let the air come in silently, and then do the exercise. Remember, when you're singing, when you're practicing, you're always practicing and habituating something. So make sure that when you inhale, you're habituating this inhalation through a nice, relaxed, silent throat, as opposed to habituating the quick, rhythmic, gaspy thing that we so often hear. You don't need to tank all the way up every time you take a breath when you're singing. But getting to the point where you really can take a full, low, expansive, silent inhalation, it's a great skill to have. Again, if you want to be able to work on breath management, you've got to have some breath to manage. So I encourage you to pay attention to this often neglected component of breathing. Lots of things you can do to help you improve your breathing. Anything you do to improve your alignment is going to help improve range of motion for your ribs and your diaphragm. Anything you do to stretch, release, relax muscles that you might be holding in your abdomen or in your upper body are also going to be great for improving your inhalation. If you look below, you'll see that I've included some descriptions for the physical exercises that I depicted earlier in this video. So get to work on it, and next time we'll talk about releasing the breath, exhaling, and the anatomy and coordination involved in that.